What's going on? It's your boy Cito Blanko. I'm unboxing the story behind every line with Poetic Stories. It's your boy Cito Blanquito. Never miss a free though. Yeah, one day I was having a conversation with my bro Mars, and he told me like, yo bro, you done given the world enough stories and bars, but nobody knows the story of how it all begins. And it made me think. The first poem that I ever wrote was to once I realized that I related and resonated with like men that look like me, especially like, yo, black men really don't express their feelings certain ways. So when I was on those stages and I just get those like, yo bro, I ain't gonna lie, like you saying something that I ain't know how to say, but I relate to it, that's when I felt like the purpose connected to the art. And that's when I felt like, yo, poetry really found me. I feel like it relates to others simply because not everybody's expressive, and I realize that. Like, I feel like we all go through the same things. I just think artists are the people that are articulate enough or brave enough to express it to the world. So sometimes I feel like I'm able to just write my brother's story in a way that he may not have the space or is available to do at that moment of time. There was a time in my life when I was extremely vulnerable, and I feel like being that vulnerable allowed a space to, like I heard this quote one time, like a real conversation starts when somebody's vulnerable. And I realized that putting my poems and art into the world allowed a certain vulnerability to take place amongst people that didn't necessarily felt it was easy or safe enough to be vulnerable. And I think that helped set the tone. Some of the conversations, some of the people after they read my first book, 98 Cents, or after certain shows, like the DMs I might get, I've realized like, yo, art is meant to set the tone in life and the community. So when your poem goes from that stage to the community, that makes it more of a beautiful thing. I've been in a Grammy Recording Academy for 9 months now. It's been an interesting experience. I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel like I'm more like the spook that sat by the door in it. I know there's a lot of politics that go along with the Grammys, but with us having a spoken word Grammy for the last 3 years, I feel like to me it makes more sense to experience it and understand what's going on instead of looking on the outside looking in and saying like, yo, this may not necessarily help the community or be for us. My last album expiration dates last year for Grammy consideration, and right now we're about to get back in the studio and work on our next album that we want to get for Grammy consideration and nomination for 2027. So that's the process, that's the goal, that's the frequency, and I'm gonna get that shit. I'm gonna get that shit. Fuck boy, gonna get that shit. My first performance at Brooklyn Museum was that first Saturday. And anybody that know First Saturday, like when we got them parties going on, you probably got about 5,000 black people that's fly, got culture. It's like a Spike Lee joint in the whole museum. And I got to perform there, and that was a beautiful experience simply because like sometimes you perform poems and it's not for the people that like you go outside with, you might argue with on a shade rule comment. It's not necessarily always your people. Performing there felt good because I got to perform in front of my people. Then I got the feature to perform in front of Brooklyn Museum probably 6 months after that. And to me, I feel like hip hop is a big part of culture and black culture. New York is where hip hop started. And Brooklyn is one of the main pieces of that. And Brooklyn Museum is the biggest museum there. So to me, it felt like for you to be a feature and arguably the biggest museum, a part of the culture that you love, was a big deal for me. Touring changed my life. I remember the first time I got the call to be on the road. I got a bus ticket. I had no book. I had like 6 poems remembered. And from that moment, I've been on the road. And going from city to city just made me understand and realize like how cultures may change, but how we may have a lot of the same experiences. Oakland's one of my favorite cities because it feels like the West Coast of New York. New Orleans got some of the best food. Boston, Houston, always a great vibe. Dallas. So in these spaces, not just being on the road, but connecting with the people and understanding that like, even though you may see them on social media, we have a lot more in common, but also we need to celebrate our differences. So poetry has brought me in rooms and places I never thought I would be. And my belly, my spirit, and my mind appreciates it. Childhood, third child of Jamaican-born immigrants. My mom, a wonderful woman who has a beautiful soul at this age, but growing up, damn, she loved that belt. My pops, always allowed us to believe in our dreams. And my siblings, even though growing up with them was tough at times, I felt like our unity and who we are has a bond that I will never, ever, ever regret. Grew up in the Bronx, uptown, you know what I'm saying? Beef patties and ackee and saltfish in the morning. Had the doubles around the corner. But it was a beautiful experience. When you first generation, you get the culture of your parents' homeland, but you get to experience a different country in a different way. And that unique experience, I feel like, makes me who I am today. I thought I was going to the NFL until I got a check from the NFL probably 10 years later for doing poetry. And in that moment, it made me realize how important football was to me, because it gave me the discipline, it allowed me to have the camaraderie with my brothers, but it also taught me what it felt like to be a leader. I was the captain of my football team for I was a sophomore, and that's never left me. And to this day, some of my teammates be like, yo, like, I'm not surprised to be where you at, to see where you're at, because you were always that in the locker room. So football has always been like a pivotal part of my life. I don't play no more because, I ain't gonna lie to you like that. I got work the next day, but I love football. And go Miami, man. You about to get this national championship to you all day. Childhood friend, my first poem I ever wrote was to the beat of a heart monitor machine hooked to my mother's chest the night before one of my closest friend's funeral. And that closest friend was Steve O.D. And in that moment, we probably wasn't really on the best terms. And I think like it shaped me and it broke me in ways that I didn't anticipate. Because at that moment, I remember telling Mars like, yo, I don't understand why grown men hug so hard. Pause. And after a while, you like, yo, when you've been through some stuff, and experiences hit different. And I felt like life has just been different from that moment. There's a before Steve O.D. and there's an after. The camaraderie and how we move and we care about each other a little bit different ever since then. Because it's different when you lose one of your bros. Because Haki, like, if he was here, he would dead be right behind his camera. Like, dead ass, so, yeah. My mom lied about my address so I didn't go to a bad school, so I could go to art school in Co-op City called MS-180. The irony is I ended up teaching there during COVID, so that's full circle moment. But those one of those times and moments that you didn't understand you were exposed to the arts. But later on in my life, when I see the friends that I went to middle school with, I realized they had a different perspective. They operated and seen the world through colors that wasn't always what I necessarily resonated with. And I felt like even though I didn't appreciate it at the moment, it planted certain seeds for me to be an artist and the artist I am today. So shout out to my mom for lying about the Addy and making me go to that school. I appreciate it, even though kids were still playing with crack on them desks. You know what I'm saying? We had the oil pastels and the color pencils next to it type. You feel me? So yeah. My last name is Appleton. I don't know how more Jamaican that gets, like my government name. But it's influenced me in a way because growing up uptown in the Bronx, when I say uptown, I mean like Gun Hill, Allerton, and up. We right next to Mount Vernon. It's different because I didn't realize how Jamaican my neighborhood was until I went to college. And then when I came back, it made me appreciate the culture a little bit different. My pops playing Buju and Garnet Silk and Dennis Brown every single morning, and now you learn the lyrics, but you realize those lyrics help build a foundation for enlightenment, build a foundation for you to understand like what music can really be and how art can be a gateway for you understanding yourself and who you are and where you come from. So I love my culture in a way that, yeah, I love Jamaica. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, I still feel like it's home. I love Jamaica. Okay, no pain, no gain. I don't want for my pain no more. Tried to smoke, but the high ain't the same no more. I've had some dark times in this life. Going from football to poetry, there was a space in between that where I really didn't know who I was. I was battling for identity, freaking code switching masculinity, trying to understand who I am in this world and how to show up. And in that moment, you know, I might have picked up a double cup or had a couple perkies. Yeah, I might have had a couple perkies in that moment too. But in that space, I wrote that poem, No Pain, No Gain, for me to understand it's like, I wouldn't change any of it because I had to go through that. Me going through that made me understand, have a different perspective. Like, I don't know many people that went from a double cup to a master's degree. So when I'm in these little bougie rooms and people talking about poets say this and poets do that and they talk down on people, I'm not with it because I know what it feels like to wear both of those shoes. And to keep it a bean, I don't miss the double cup, but these masters people are a little too bougie for me anyway. The poetry scene right now, I feel like it's a renaissance. The way that man, I've been teaching kids for almost 15 years when it comes to just like after school, about at least 8 years when it comes to poetry. And I be seeing how they pen and their storytelling has reached another level. And some of these kids is on the scene right now. So right now, I'm so excited for the poetry scene and where poetry is at, not just with the Grammy, but I feel like the respect that we deserve is here. Everybody starts as a poet and they go to different places because sometimes the economy of poetry or the spaces isn't big enough for some of these stars. But I disagree. I think the time is now, and I think we all need to expand and understand what that looks like. But also let's trust the process and appreciate what it is. Because the more steps we take towards these industries, the more that form of capitalism starts to come in and take away some of the beauty of our art. Remember, Quincy Jones says, like, once you start thinking about money, then God leaves the room. So I think it's really, really important that we understand that God stays in the room while we build our industry. Because I think it starts with the word, and we the ones that's writing them. Master's degree. I never thought I'd get a master's degree a day in my life, but poetry, once again, has opened doors that I never thought I would walk through. The interesting part about it is I was listening to Eric Thomas the other day, and one of his favorite albums talks about how he was going to get his master's degree. And I used to listen to it all the time. I even went to meet Eric Thomas. He signed my book. And it's wild because like now I listen to it, I think about he probably planted that seed of like, let me go get my master's. Because now it opens up doors where it's like nobody can necessarily stop me. Like I know, and my mentor, Poetic, tell me all the time, is like, yo, I know what you can do in these streets and how you move these people. When you get this piece of paper, that's a passport to go in any classroom across the world. So you might as well take advantage of it. So shout out to St. Francis that gave me a scholarship. I graduated about 9 months ago. You know what I'm saying? I'm mastered up. Yeah, that part. The Love Jones poem is probably the first poem I could say like some of the bros and people that actually like knew the parts. Like it's different when you spit because you be like, if I'm spitting poems, they be like, yeah, because everybody like the battle rap and I'm from the Lil Wayne, Dat Piff era. But Love Jones was the first time that it was a different era when people was like, nah, bro, like I could see people saying it in the crowd. And that hit a little bit different. Especially like the end of it, when it's like every day I get to do something that nobody ever did. I get to be me, and you get to be you, and we all could change this world. How about we see it through? And love has always been the answer. So the best way to spread love is by loving you. Yeah, that's on the back of my book. That was on my first merch. I think those four, like that stanza right there probably changed my life. Because, like, don't get me wrong, like, I done sold books on Amazon, did the tour and stuff, but, like, when niggas in the hood know your words, like, it hit a little bit different. Like, that's the one. I feel like the poetry scene does feel like a mirror because, like anything, we all self-made, but only the rich admit it. Like, sometimes you write words and sometimes words write you. And everything that we write or put into the universe is always going to be where we're at. So if we write ourselves to be at the top and be stars, and that's what it's going to be. But if we constantly write about our pain and our traumas, then we're going to stay there. So I feel like at times, poetry scene can feel like a cesspool. It can feel like, yo, it's a trauma-based place where we're just going to dump and dump and dump. And I've been on the phone with a lot of poets of like, how do we find spaces or give people the steps to move out of that, to heal? Because to be honest, a lot of it's above our pay grade. We all come to a space and then dump all of our pain, then go home. But my pain and everybody else's pain that was on the stage. So I think that mirror is great because we're honest, but sometimes we have to be honest about how these words are affecting us and how we can be better with them. New projects, I ain't gonna lie, we've been cooking, man. We've been cooking. Like I said, I went on the hard drive. We've been in the studio. I got some stuff that the world ain't never heard before, seen before. We're doing some collabs. That might be a little bit different, but they cooking and they working. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Molly Down. We just dropped that Fireworks at the top of the year. That was crazy. I'm about to drop a mixtape. We're gonna go to the studio and do that. We're still trying to get this Grammy. Got another book that I'm working on this year, but also this year is about creativity in a way of removing the boundaries, removing the box. I feel like for so long, I had too many people in my process. Now, I feel like I'm my own biggest fan, and my work is best when I'm in that space. Yeah, Dance Hall Poetry Project. We cooking it. We working on it. Me and Molly Down, we dropped Fireworks at the top of the year. And it's been an interesting process because I'm not gonna lie, like seeing him work as an artist has helped me a lot as a studio artist, because I've really honed my craft on stages and being a cappella. But being in the studio and being refined in that element is what really, really, really helped me in that space. And I feel like the project, like, when the world hears that project, they're gonna be surprised. Because dancehall and poetry has a lot more in common than you think. And the one thing that I've realized and I understand talking about my culture in Jamaica that I love the most is like, yo, Jamaica always gonna love literature. They always gonna love lyrics. They always gonna love words. So long as you give them words, it's gonna work. And one day I was having a conversation with my bro Mars, and he told me like, oh, bro, you done given the world enough stories and bars, but nobody knows the story of how it all begins. And it made me think. The first poem that I ever wrote was to the beat of a heart-monitored machine hooked to my mother's chest. The night before I had to bury one of my closest friends. And in that moment, I had to come to grips that one day, all this shit is gonna end. And that's when my pen began. I don't know if the BPM was speeding up, if my hand was just possessed. But with every line, the anger in my heart turned to sorrow. I had to accept the fact that my friend is not gonna see another tomorrow. The emptiness in my stomach turned my vocal cords to a graveyard of regret. For all the things I wish I could say or even send in a text. You know the funny thing about death? It will train your ears to hear it on people's breath. Every time your phone rings, a part of you wonder who's next. My first stanza was not a talent show. My first metaphor wasn't to impress somebody I never met before. My first open mic wasn't a stage. It was an open casket. And the Grim Reaper was the host. And I feel like he's had his hand on my pen ever since. Everybody wants a purpose or a gift. Until you gotta walk through the valley of the shadow of death with it. So for the days that I fall to my flesh, and I allow these 1099s to hold my imagination hostage, I pray that my ancestors forgive me, because the days that I perform to heal, to remind people how to feel, those are the days that these words feel holy. So I don't know if writing that poem saves me, or just gave me a place to rest in between the lines. Because silence was the only audience I had. When nobody lent an ear without an opinion. So as long as this mic will take my breath, let my words echo like the Psalms. Let my friend's name, my mother's pain go to a place of salvation. So for the day, whenever it's my day, a long, long time from here, hopefully, don't let it be that, yo, Cito was a fly nigga. Cito helped a lot of people, let it my legacy be. Not that I wrote a bunch of dope poems, that I let my soul write them for me. That I let my soul write them for me. Yo, I tell my students all the time, sometimes you write words and sometimes words write you. So what's the scripture that's on your soul? Yeah, man, I'm new shit. Writing all this new shit, man. Sometimes you gotta reverse engineer and go back to the beginning. If y'all in the comments, show some love to the boy Shaq going crazy on the guitar and shit. What we gonna do? We on the... Fuck it, let's get into sorry. Let's go to sorry. Let's go to sorry. Let's go to sorry. Let's get into sorry. Let's get into sorry. I get so lonely. Can't let just anybody. You are the one I need for me. Want no one but what I did to you. I'm sorry. What I did to you, I didn't mean to do. You with me. Want no one. I got the apology I wanted and I still feel away. And it's one of those great apologies too, like movie rolling credits type sorries and niggas still feel away. And maybe it's my fault, cause I just released the scapegoat while looking the calluses on my hands from holding on to this. So this taught me that sorry is not a safe word. It will hold your trust in bondage, strap you to the idea that it cares. Like I got the sorry I wanted, and I still feel away. And it made me realize that the sorry that you want ain't always gonna be the sorry that you gonna get. So now I ask for apologies, cause I need some actions to come with it. Like imagine sorry not being sorry. And it called out with his PTO time. Took a trip of my bad. Now you good and now you not dead ass. Like I got the sorry I wanted and I still feel away. And it made me wonder like, why can't the sorry I want? So you keep your 4-page letter and I'm gonna take the why. You know, SORR. You find the why. What I did to you, I'm sorry. The Dame Dash, I ain't roll dice in a minute. I wrote this poem simply because people weaponize sorry in a way like they gonna change their actions. Like don't tell me sorry unless you gonna do some shit about it. Somebody will literally waste your time than tell me sorry. Like I'd rather pay for your first therapy session. Go change your life. Shit. That's why y'all niggas is blocked now. Go crazy, Shaq. Go crazy with these niggas. Light fire on these niggas. Shout out to iHeart for the package. It's my first time seeing this. Let's see what they got me. Oh shit. This should actually say Poetic Stories. Oh damn, we got real questions. Okay. Got the 106 in Park cards. Group hang. Nah, with the bros, man. We out with the bros, man. We gonna make it all with the bros type shit. Yes. Group hang or one of them? Nah, for sure with the bros. Apple. Even though Spotify be having better playlists. I feel like I purposely like don't go where music is better, which is sad. Cause I know Spotify is better. But I'm both, even though I haven't been doing either. I'ma say new language, simply because I've been doing the Duolingo app joint with Bay. So I will say that, yeah, I will say the dual. But I do want to learn an instrument though. I want to learn like guitar and all that. No, it's not, because it gets the job done. I need you to understand my tone when I say what I say. Because it's not just what I say, it's how I said it. But I don't want to deal with the buffering of knowing about your whole day when I want my answer. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, you going to understand what I had to say when I had to say it, but answer it at your own convenience. Comedy. I hate scary movies. Yo, my brother, no lie, used to lock me in like rooms that was dark and play Tales to the Crypt, and that shit traumatized me. Traumatized me, I swear to God. Like, yeah, with kid, boom, I'd have guessed too. Because I don't be trusting people vibe sets. Like, I don't feel like people set the right vibe sometimes. But sometimes I don't want the responsibility of the budget and creating a vibe to host. Matter of fact, at the frequency I'm at right now, I'll be a guest. I'll be a guest. With a +1, please.